Ethan stood outside the glass door of the small coffee shop for almost 3 full minutes before he touched the handle. People moved around him like water flowing around a stone. Some entered laughing with friends, some came out carrying warm cups and talking on their phones, and some walked in confidently as if ordering coffee was the easiest thing in the world. For them, maybe it was. For Ethan, it felt like walking into an exam room where he had not studied enough. His hands were cold even though the morning was warm. He looked at the menu posted beside the entrance. There were too many words. Latte, cappuccino, americano, flat white, mocha, espresso, macchiato, extra shot, oat milk, almond milk, whipped cream, sizes, tall, grande, venti. He knew some of these words, but not enough. Not enough to feel safe, not enough to speak without fear. He whispered to himself, 1 coffee, just 1 coffee. It sounded simple in his mind, but he knew the real problem was not the coffee. The real problem was speaking. Speaking where people could hear. Speaking where mistakes had witnesses. Speaking where someone might laugh, sigh, or ask him to repeat himself. That fear had followed him for years. He could read English better than he could speak it. He could understand videos when subtitles were on. He could write messages after thinking for 5 minutes. But live speaking? That was another world. Fast, unpredictable, dangerous. Today mattered because Ethan had promised himself something last night. No more hiding. No more pointing at menus and smiling nervously. No more pretending he was in a hurry when someone asked a question. He wanted to become the kind of person who could walk in, order clearly, smile naturally, and leave without replaying every word in his head. So he took a breath, opened the door, and stepped inside. The smell hit him first. Coffee beans, warm bread, sugar, and something sweet like vanilla. Music played softly overhead. The shop was full but not crowded. A woman typed on a laptop in the corner. 2 students laughed over notes. A man in a suit checked emails while stirring his drink. Behind the counter, 3 baristas moved quickly, calling names, steaming milk, taking orders. They looked efficient and confident. Ethan immediately wanted to turn around, but then he saw the line, only 4 people ahead of him. Too late to escape without looking strange. He joined the line and stared at the menu board again. He needed a plan. Coffee, he thought. Just say coffee. But what kind? What size? Hot or iced? Milk or black? Sugar? He felt sweat gather on his neck.
The first customer said, "Large oat milk latte, extra hot, no foam." The words came out like music, smooth, practiced, fast. The second customer asked for something with caramel and 2 pumps of syrup. The third changed an order halfway through and laughed with the cashier. The fourth spoke so softly Ethan could not hear, yet somehow everyone understood him. Then it was Ethan's turn. The cashier smiled politely. "Hi there, what can I get started for you?" A simple question, normal words, but Ethan's mind froze. Every sentence he had prepared disappeared like smoke. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The cashier waited kindly. Ethan tried again. "I want one," the cashier asked gently. "1 coffee?" "Sure. What kind of coffee would you like?" What kind? The dangerous question. Ethan looked up at the board. The words blurred. He pointed vaguely. "Normal coffee." The cashier smiled again, this time with patience earned from years of confusion. "We have drip coffee, americano, latte, cappuccino." Ethan heard the line behind him grow silent. He imagined everyone annoyed. He imagined them thinking, how hard is it to order coffee? His ears became hot. "Yes," he said. The cashier blinked. "Yes, which one?" "Yes." A man behind Ethan chuckled softly. It might not even have been about him, but it felt like a knife. Ethan panicked. "Sorry, black milk." "Black milk?" "No, I mean white. No, black. With milk. No." He stopped, trapped inside his own sentence. The cashier leaned forward kindly. "No worries. Let's make it easy. Do you want it black or with milk?" "With milk." "Great. Hot or iced?" "Hot." "Small, medium or large?" Ethan had not prepared for sizes. "Medium." "Perfect. Latte okay?" "Yes." Name for the order? This question always surprised him. Why did coffee need identity? Ethan. Sorry, Ethan. Eden? No, Ethan. Ethan? Yes. Great, that'll be $4.25.
Ethan paid too quickly, nearly dropping his card, then moved aside, carrying the heavy weight of embarrassment. He felt foolish. He had wanted one simple success, and instead had performed confusion in front of strangers. He stood near the pickup counter, pretending to check his phone. Inside, he was angry with himself. Why did words disappear when he needed them? Why could he think clearly alone, but panic in public? Why did such a small task feel impossible? "Medium latte for Ethan," called a barista. He stepped forward and took the cup. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You're welcome," she replied with a smile so normal that it confused him. No mockery, no judgment, just kindness. He sat near the window and wrapped both hands around the cup. Outside, the city moved as always. Inside, he replayed the scene. He hated every pause, every mistake, every awkward second. But as he replayed it again, another thought entered. He had done it. Messy, uncomfortable, imperfect, but done. He had not run away. He had spoken. He had survived. Across from him, an older woman closed her book and smiled. "First time ordering here?" she asked. Ethan almost denied it, but something in her voice felt safe. Was it obvious? She laughed softly. "Only because I've seen that face before. I wore it myself many years ago." "You?" Ethan asked. She spoke fluent, effortless English. "I moved here when I was 30, she said. I knew grammar rules, but when people asked simple questions, I froze. Once I ordered soup and somehow received 6 muffins. Ethan laughed for the first time that morning. "How?" "I still don't know," she said. "But I learned something important. Fluency is not built in private. It is built in public, in mistakes, in awkward moments, in repeating simple conversations until fear gets bored and leaves." He listened carefully. She continued. "Many learners think they must become perfect before speaking. That's backwards. You become better by speaking before you feel ready." Those words stayed in the air between them. Ethan looked at his cup. "It feels embarrassing." "Of course," she said. "Growth often feels embarrassing at first." She packed her bag and stood. "Come back tomorrow. Order again. Use one more sentence than today." Then she left. Ethan sat there long after finishing his drink. Come back tomorrow. It sounded small, but maybe small was exactly what he needed. Not a miracle, not overnight fluency, just tomorrow. The next morning he returned. His heart still beat fast, but less violently. He joined the line and rehearsed a sentence. "Hi, can I get a medium hot latte, please?" He repeated it silently 10 times. When his turn came, he said it almost perfectly. The cashier nodded. "Sure thing. Name? Ethan. Got it. No disaster, no collapse. 10 seconds. He walked away feeling strangely powerful. On the 3rd day, he added another sentence. "Can I also get 1 croissant?" On the 4th day, he asked, "What do you recommend if I want something less sweet?" On the 5th day, he understood a fast question and answered without asking for repetition. By the 2nd week, the staff recognized him. "Morning, Ethan," one barista said. That greeting felt ephemeral. He started noticing something surprising. Many native speakers stumbled too. They changed orders mid-sentence, forgot words, misspoke names, asked people to repeat themselves. Communication was messy for everyone, not only learners. Somehow he had imagined fluent people moved through language like dancers. In reality, they tripped often and kept going. One rainy afternoon, the shop was crowded and short-staffed. Orders piled up. A new employee looked nervous at the register. Customers grew impatient. Ethan stood in line, watching her struggle with the machine. When his turn came, she apologized. "Sorry, I'm still learning." Without thinking, Ethan smiled and said, "No problem, take your time." The sentence was simple, but natural, automatic, real. She relaxed immediately. "Thank you," she said. He ordered smoothly, then stepped aside in shock. He had spoken without rehearsing. No inner panic meeting, no emergency translation in his head, just language used for kindness. That night, he realized confidence had entered quietly, not through one big success, but through dozens of tiny repetitions. Weeks passed. Ethan began using English beyond the coffee shop. He asked strangers for directions. He made small talk with co-workers. He answered phone calls instead of letting them ring out. He joined an online speaking group and introduced himself without trembling. Sometimes he still made mistakes. Sometimes he still searched for words. But mistakes no longer felt like proof of failure. They felt like part of motion. One Saturday morning, he entered the coffee shop and saw a young man standing near the door, staring at the menu exactly the way Ethan once had. The man held his phone tightly and whispered to himself. He looked ready to leave. Ethan recognized that posture immediately, the posture of someone fighting fear in silence. Ethan walked over gently. "First time?" he asked. The young man nodded, embarrassed. "Good enough." The man looked uncertain. Ethan pointed to the counter. "I was scared too. Start simple. Say, 'Hi, can I get a coffee, please?'" The man repeated it softly. "Good," Ethan said. "If they ask questions, answer one at a time. Small, medium, or large. Hot or iced. That's all." The young man took a breath and stepped into line. Ethan stood nearby, pretending to read the pastry menu. He watched the order happen in broken pieces and brave pauses. It was imperfect. It was successful. When the young man received his drink, he turned and grinned like someone who had crossed an invisible bridge. "Thank you," he said. Ethan nodded. "You did it." Then Ethan went to order his own drink. When the cashier asked, "What can I get started for you?" he answered easily, "Hi, can I get a medium cappuccino, extra hot, and one blueberry muffin?" "Sure thing, Ethan." He smiled. They remembered his name now without asking twice. As he waited, he thought about the version of himself who once stood frozen at the door, afraid of one simple conversation. That person had not been weak or foolish. He had just misunderstood fear. Fear said, "Don't speak until you are ready." But progress whispered, "Speak, and readiness will follow." When his order was called, Ethan picked it up and moved to the window seat where it had all begun. Outside, rain tapped softly against the glass. Inside, people chatted, laughed, ordered, misspoke, repeated themselves, and kept living. Language was not a performance after all. It was a bridge built in real time between imperfect people. He opened his notebook and wrote a sentence across the top of the page. Confidence is collected one conversation at a time. Under it, he made a list of everything the coffee shop had taught him. Start simple. Mistakes are normal. Repetition creates fluency. Most people are kinder than fear predicts. Progress hides inside embarrassment. Then he added one more line. Tomorrow, speak again. Months later, Ethan would tell this story to others who said, "I understand English, but I cannot speak." He would smile because he knew that sentence well. He would tell them about the menu that looked like a wall, the cashier who patiently asked questions, the moment he said, "black milk," the laugh that hurt, the stranger who gave wisdom, and the tiny daily returns that changed everything. He would tell them that no classroom exercise had transformed him as much as one repeated real-life interaction. And he would always end the story the same way. If you can order coffee, you can start changing your life. Because the truth was never about coffee. It was about courage disguised as an ordinary morning. It was about a door that looked small, but opened into a larger version of himself. It was about discovering that fluency is not born in perfect sentences. It is born in trembling voices that speak anyway. Now, I want to ask you one question. Have you ever felt scared to speak English in public? Tell me your experience in the comments below. And also comment your next topic idea. Should the next story be boy who failed an interview because of English, girl lost at airport but saved by English, or shy student who became fluent in 30 days? If you enjoyed this story and want to learn English through powerful storytelling, make sure to subscribe now and join this journey. Your next fluent version is waiting.